Welcome to Sodo Creations, where we make your imagination a reality. Today I'm bringing to you a Barbie theme backdrop. Now, this whole Barbie theme has taken over the world. I've been on the fence. Well, I've been out of the Barbie fence actually, because I wasn't interested in making a Barbie box. Now, I've been contemplating back and forth, and I've seen several great and not so great boxes, DIYs, and I just decided to jump over the fence and get on with it. Now, the part of me that was iffy about doing it is because of storage purposes. I don't have that much room to put a huge Barbie box. So I decided to use foam board to create this Barbie box so that I can at least have a DIY so you guys can learn how to do it on your own if you want to do it, or if you're just trying to make something for one party and be done with it if you're not really into the event decor business. So I decided to tackle it and get it done. I'll show you how I do the sketch, how I did a sketch with all the measurements and adjustments if I need to, and it wasn't a bad project. So I will show you how I tackle this, and we're also gonna decorate. Depending on how long this video is gonna be, then you'll be able to see me set up a little backdrop for an actual birthday party so that you can have ideas as well for yours. So if this is your first time tuning in, don't forget to click the subscribe button. We have so many videos that we post on this channel for decor, and I take you along with me for all my decorating for several events. So you have several options and themes and ideas that I have on this channel, so check those out as well. And without further ado, let's get on with this Barbie box. I want to start out by explaining my sketch because I'm recording by myself, and I think it'll be easy for me to explain the process, so when I'm cutting, you know what I'm doing and you can see the outcome. I'll pause each time to give you a close-up, but it'll be easier for me to just tell you what I'm doing. So I did this little sketch. Initially, I had this as 42, I believe, but I changed it to 40, and I'll explain to you why. So I have my width for the box 40. The depth is going to be 18. The height is 5 foot. I'm doing this for my kids. So I'm going to create this with foam boards. I wasn't ready to commit to wood at this point. Like I said, I've been pushing on this design for some time, and I'm finally decided to do this. So I know my girls are going to be so excited about it. So another thing, I feel like once I can nail this front down, the rest will be easy. But I have the 40 depth, and I designed this as initially with a goal of 30 as the width. It's not up to 30. I can't remember what it came up to, but I'm hoping, even though I reduce this part by 2 inches, it's still gonna work right there at the front, and it'll be to an advantage to me. It'll be an advantage for me because then the Barbie will actually fit all along here. One of my biggest pet peeves with these Barbie boxes is the fact that sometimes the Barbie just ends to this point. There's some that end here, but this piece here is open on the end, which is fine, but you have some that it's not centered and things like that. I'm hoping I can actually get mine right. So here I have 4 inches. All these dimensions are in inches, so it's easier for me to work with. It's easier for you to understand. So on each side, I'll go in by 4 inches, same from the top down. As far as this bottom part, I haven't decided how tall it'll be yet. I'll let you know because I want to lay this. Once I can cut this out, then I'll lay this piece out to see how far down from the box I want to raise it up, and that will determine how far up I go. So now This was just measuring that 40 and subtracting this 4 on this side with this 4 over here, so that I can see how much room or how big of the letters I need to design. Now, I have a Cricut design space, and my biggest mat is 12 by 24 length. So with this being 30, pretty much I was trying to make a sign that was 30 by 8 inches. With this being 30, it wasn't going to fit on one mat. And I didn't show you how I cut it, but I have it right here. It's hard to see, but you can see the E at the very end because I had to do 2 separate cuts so that I'll get the full design. You can kind of see the eye here that is going to connect to this part to form the Barbie. But what I plan to do is after I get the main thing painted, I'm going to lay this over the top and then use some white paint to just paint over it. So I'll take off this piece, just leave all that intact, take off that piece, and paint the Barbie over the pink. So that's the plan. I'm not planning to cut a separate whiteboard to put it on top. So that's that part. As far as this, I haven't quite decided what I'm gonna do with that. We'll figure that out later on in the video. I'll show you the supplies. So that's my sketch. It's gonna be 5 feet tall. My kids are not that tall, but I figured they have room to stand in, and they'll take some pictures. Hopefully I get a thumbnail out of that, we'll see. But right now I'm just trying to get this done. It's actually 12:30 midnight here, but I've been procrastinating on this and busy with the kids, and figured while they're sleeping I can get this done. We have some glue for the hot glue gun. We have the box cutter. I'm gonna try that instead of the other small knife I usually use. And I have this long ruler that I bought at Hobby Lobby. So it's 36 inches long. Now I have these foam boards. Let me move this back. So this top one is a piece I had left over, which is the bigger one right here. And they are $8.99 each. You can't find these at regular stores like Walmart. You have to go to Hobby Lobby to get these bigger pieces, but they are not too thick. We're gonna support them as we go, but I had this left over since I don't want to cut on my table. I've done that in the past and cut my table. I don't want to do that this time. I'm gonna lay this piece on the bottom and cut over it. Now this is just the regular foam board that I bought also at Hobby Lobby. You can get it cheaper at Walmart or the Dollar Tree, but I just bought it $1.99 just because I didn't want to stop at another store and I was running late to pick up my kids. But story of my life. So then I have these larger boards. I honestly don't know the dimensions. I know I measured this part. The length is 40 inches. The width, let me see, I can tell you right now so that I don't forget. The length is so 40 by 32. That's a little dirty. We'll put that on the other side. Yeah, 40 by 32. So to make things easy, I'm going to use this bottom part here as the base, right? So I don't have to cut anything. So this part right here. The only thing next is I would need something to support that part, and then right here would be my next support. But I'll move the camera back to show you how I do all that. So pretty much, let's move this smaller piece out of the way. And then we'll have this piece here as the top, and it's already 32 inches. So what I'm gonna do is measure my 4 on each side and see how far down, but the depth of it is gonna determine where exactly my letters are gonna go. So I'm gonna lay out this to figure out how deep I want to cut it. And that's after I draw out the 4 and 4 on each side. Once I do that, I need to figure out how much I'm gonna put as a top piece, cut that piece out, and then just have pieces that will connect both parts. And we can figure out the depth of it once we're all done. So I'm gonna set the camera back and get to work. I'm starting out by measuring the bottom of the front of the box. So I'm starting by putting the 4 inches on both sides of the bottom. I like the fact that I had very minimal cuts. The biggest thing was this front part, especially getting that Barbie wording right in place and traced out and cut out. So this is the 4 inches on both sides. Then I'll be able to place the Barbie. And I decided with the bottom part to just go ahead and take out the inner part of the Barbie that I had cut out with my cricut and use that as my template to be able to trace around it. And I'll explain further as I move on with the video so you can really understand what I'm saying. So here we go, taking off the inner part, and I'll use that wording to trace where exactly I want it, as I had to measure both sides where the B starts and where the E ends so that I know it's centered, and it took me a couple of tries to get it in place. This is what I have so far. Hopefully you can see these lines. It's pencil. So I have this is the bottom part of the design. I taped the Barbie on here because I have to trace out, it's gonna be hard to see. I have to trace out the outline of the Barbie so I can put it on there. Can you see where I had to draw the eye in, but you can see the line vaguely. That's where I'm gonna cut for the bottom piece. And then from here it's gonna be straight over on both sides, so straight this way. And that is the 4 inches. Remember the 4 inches, and I was just showing you this part right here where I have to cut. So that's the bottom. Now the top part is upside down right here. The lines are not clear, but you can see, okay, there you go. The line there where I drew, and then it's upside down. So right here I have an angle because I'm gonna put the Mattel sign right here, and I just measured to this point. It's 8 inches, I think is what I did. Let's see, let me make sure I'm telling you right. So I measured 8 inches from there and 8 inches on this side as well. So that gave me this angle, but then I was trying to figure out how to do a perfect angle right there, or a good enough circle, because I ended up making the top of my instead of the 4 inches, I did 5 so that I have a bigger, thicker top. It's not as thin, so the top of it is 5. I'll show you on my sketch. We'll go back to the sketch. So right here, this top part, instead of it being 4 inches all around, I made 5. And I used the plate, which is the first thing I could think of. I figured this plate is 8.5 inches. So if I do my sign, make a sign that's 8.5 inches, it'll fit right on it. And then I have where I can cut. So in order for me to cut, I just shifted my plate over to where the 8 inches met, right on that edge, and traced it out to connect where I'll cut. So that's where I'm gonna cut. Hopefully that makes sense. So now I'm gonna cut these pieces. Another thing I wanted to point out is the fact that the width of the cardboard. So we talked about this part being 40 inches, but the width here is 32. I don't want to have pieces, so I'm just gonna leave the height twice that amount. So initially my height here was gonna be 60, but it's gonna end up being 32 times 2, which is 64. I'm not gonna cut it. I'll just keep that height, and that'll just minimize, I guess, give me more height. I guess I will see how things go, but I think the height will be good. So I'm just gonna cut that. Pretty much I'll have to tape the front and back. Now as for the back piece, all I would have to do now, instead of measuring to cut off that excess 4 feet, I'm just gonna connect 2 of these. So that's my front. And then I'm gonna take 2 of these and just connect the 2 pieces, which will be my back. Then I would have to figure out the sides here in just a second, but I'm gonna set this up so you guys can see how I cut everything up. Okay, so you saw me cut the front and the back. I have this laid out, which is this is my total height for the, I guess I should stand this way. This is the total height, and these are the two boards. So I'm gonna tape two of these together, and that will be the back piece. But I just thought about something. I need to figure out my two sides. So what I'm gonna do is cut this in half, use this side as the left side and the other two pieces as my right side. This is just to save me as many cuts as possible. Remember, the total width here was 40, so then I'll have 20 as my depth. I'll show you on my paper again. So what we're figuring out is this piece right here. Initially I was gonna do 18 inches, but I'm gonna add the extra 2 inches just to save me extra cuts. That way, so you'll have the line here and the same line going in the back and around, and also in front. So it'll be two pieces, this top, the bottom. Then I still need to figure out that top part. So instead of that 18, we're gonna change that to 20. Putting that here, and instead of the 60 here, you're gonna have 64. So those are your new dimensions right there. And then up here you have 5 right there. And this one is gonna be, I believe it was 8.5 right there as our sign. So those are the new dimensions. I'm gonna cut these two boards in half, and then I'll start taping everything together and hot gluing everything together. Now that I have the sides cut, I'm working on the very back piece. I take smaller pieces of the duct tape to just secure on both sides in place before I put the longer piece in the middle. This is so that it doesn't move when I start taping it down. And I got the white duct tape just so it blends in very well. It's not like it's gonna show, it's gonna be in the very back, and I'm not gonna paint the back of the box. So I tape it up as though I was shipping a package. You reinforce the tape on both sides just so it stays secure on there. And I put a couple of rows, that way it's nice and secure in the back. So this is gonna be the very back. It's not gonna show in the front, but we will see a seam if you look closely. Now I'm grabbing my front piece as well, and I'm laying it out where the back of the front piece is showing, because I want to tape that part as well. So make sure you're careful when you're taping this down. Don't tape it on the wrong side. You want to tape it on the back side like so. And we're doing the same thing where we're putting about 3 pieces of tape on each one in the middle, and just securing that one piece on both sides so it stays in place. Okay, so we have the front and the back. So that's the front, and the back is right behind it. You see how they're nice and aligned. Only issue is, well, this will be flipped over so you won't see this tape. Now, one of the problems I'm having is that seam, because I tape here from the back. I'm going to paint right there. And same on the other side. Now we have to make a top. I don't think I'm going to have a bottom just because when they step on it, it's going to make it unstable. So what I want to do is, this is another piece of the wood. So this is half. We need to make the top. Now remember, our width here is the full length of the box. So that will fit right there as the top right there. But this is too tall. Remember, we had 20 inches. So I'm going to measure 20 inches, cut off that excess, and that will be my top. In order for this to be sturdy, I said earlier I wasn't going to use wood. Now that I think about it, wood was probably my better option to make this nice and sturdy, because the issue I'm having now is the fact that it's not gonna be sturdy, but not only that, the seams are gonna show. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint. Once I cut the top piece, I'm gonna paint all the pieces, then tape them together. That way you see clear tape lines along each piece, but it'll look like a, what do you call it? It'll kind of look like a gloss coat over the whole design. I don't know if that's gonna work, but we'll work it out. So like on the corners here where it connects to the sides, I'm gonna have some tape. On this side, I'm gonna have some tape. But I think maybe I could hot glue the other pieces first, see how they hold on, then spray paint, and then reinforce everything with some clear tape on the side. So that's my thought right now. I'm gonna cut that piece as I continue to think of how I'm gonna make this nice and sturdy. Another thing is, since it's a box, once all the pieces are connected, it won't be so bad. But I always reinforce stuff because you never know. I have 4 kids and they bump into stuff. So I always reinforce. That helps me for all my events as well. So first we're gonna cut that piece. Then these are the side panels. I'm not gonna tape those because I need to hot glue them together, and I have to figure out how to do that on this table without gluing it onto the table. So I'm gonna work on that now, cut that piece, and then get all this connected. I finally have all my pieces cut out. That's the top of the box right there on the right side. I'm moving everything out of the way so I can start gluing everything together. The one thing that I would correct, which ended up being fine, but if you're making this box, make sure this top part is slightly smaller on all sides, just so that when you glue it down, it'll fit snug. So you have room to put the sides and the top and the back on it so that it stays well in place. Because it fit real snug to the back, when I put the sides in, it slanted and overlapped a little bit. It worked out fine, but I'm just giving you so that you don't have any trouble. If you have it where there's a little space on both sides, it'll be a lot easier for you to glue the sides and align it real well with your sides and the front and back, so that it'll be right in the middle. Hopefully that makes sense. So you want to make it very little, maybe 1/8 of an inch smaller on all sides, just so it'll fit all around. So that's the correction that I would have done. If I do make one with wood, that's what I would do different. I'm also reinforcing the glue on the front so it holds it well in place. Now you'll see me here put my hands up just to show you that it's standing on its own. You have to be quick with how you glue this because it dries very fast. So I'm adjusting and holding on, making sure that everything is where I want it to be before that glue dries. So making all the adjustments. If you make a mistake, you can just heat up the glue and it'll melt and you can adjust it that way. But I'm just moving that corner right there so it'll stay. I'm not touching it. There you go. It's holding its own. So that's what we're gonna do. Let me know if you want me to create this in a wood form. If you would like that, it'll be slightly different as far as I would want something that I can take apart. So that would be my biggest headache, to figure out a design that I can take apart for better storage. Now we're gonna glue the sides on and work our way through gluing each piece. Again, the sides are 2 pieces because I cut the similar back piece in half perpendicularly so that it just fits on both sides. Fewer cuts definitely. So try this out, not bad at all. You can do it. So keep on watching. Okay, this is the next day. I was trying to rush before it gets too hot so that this foam board doesn't bend or melt. So I'm going to try to paint this as quickly as I can so I can let it dry. I probably need 2 coats, but this is what it looks like so far. I love it. It's not as sturdy as I need it to be, but I know I said before that I don't want to do wood, but now I'm reconsidering actually making this in wood. I already have my pieces that I know all the measurements, so it will be easy to just cut up wood for this. So I'm gonna work on that as well. So I'm gonna prop you guys back and get to spray painting. I still need to figure out how I'm putting the Barbie word on that part, but we'll get to that. Let's just keep working. Everything is dry. I moved it in not too long after I painted so the foam board wouldn't melt. I didn't realize Olivia was posing while I was trying to set up the backdrop to use for the full backdrop decor. So stay tuned for the end so you can see the picture of what I'm going to show you, a tutorial of my setup on this. So I have my words already cut out. I ended up just using vinyl, white vinyl. I know I said at the beginning of the video that I was going to use some paint to paint the Barbie on, but I changed my mind. I prefer to use the vinyl. It'll be much easier and go on smoothly. I won't worry about smears, especially since that foam board kind of has a glossy finish. I didn't want to deal with taping on there and trying to paint over that. So now I'm just prepping my tape to use to transfer. I like this method because it makes me not use up too much transfer tape, and also I just have regular packaging tape that I can use. I just layer on top of each other and use that. I'll show you a close-up where it's all one piece that I layered on top, one on top of the other, and just use the frizz or fuzz from the carpet or clothing. Sometimes if it's a shorter piece, I just use my clothes to just pull on and off. A sweater would be great. You just want to grab some of that lint and use that to tape on. If you tape directly, you're not going to be able to pull it off. I actually didn't pull off enough lint on this one, but it turned out okay. It snagged a little bit of the pink paint, but it wasn't too bad. So I'm adjusting to make sure that it lays right where I cut out the bottom there where the letters are gonna align. I ended up using just one layer of paint. I only had 2 cans. I used all of them for this design. If you look closely, you might be able to see the camera doesn't really show as much. Some smears from the paint, but it's not bad at all. So I'm just working my way through. Again, these are 2 pieces. I'll link down below how you can cut a larger design on your Cricut machine if it doesn't fit on your, my mat is a 12 by 24 mat, so I can cut bigger sizes but not as big as I needed for this. So I'll show you ways that you can cut smaller pieces if you have a 12 by 12 mat. The same theory applies, and you can just cut, you would probably cut 3 pieces for this one to create your design, which is not a problem. I'll link that video below for you. So now I'm working on attaching the E, just pretty much aligning it, and I'm angling it a little bit so it's nice and secure. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see how when I post the video on my full backdrop, which I'll show you a picture here coming up. My kids, after I set this up, decided they wanted to take pictures in it, and I was fine with that. But that's what I'm gonna post next for the tutorial. This is what the box looks like. That's me being goofy, and these are my kids. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your likes, your follows, your shares. Thank you so much for all the love. Have a blessed day.